All right, so here we are. I'm here to introduce Kristina Adams to the group. She's going to be sharing her autoimmune or chronic story with us. She's going to be sharing her advice and tips on how to overcome the challenges and just share some inspiration with us. So welcome, Kristina.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Please feel free to share a little bit about yourself now. Introduce yourself to us.
Okay, so I'm a writer. I've published four novels. Yeah, four novels and one nonfiction book. I have a blog for writers called the Writers Cookbook. I have a day job as a content marketer. Believe it or not, I do actually have a life around all of that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like I said, I also juggle life with chronic illness.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so, despite all these amazing and wonderful things, I would love for you to share with us some of the, life's challenges, some of life's challenges that you've experienced, how you've overcome them, especially as they relate to autoimmune or chronic illness.
Okay, so I remember a few years ago, just after I published my second book, I felt really weird. I was on the tram home from work and I just felt almost spaced out. And also my body felt really heavy, really weak. And you know what it's like at rush hour on public transport. There's nowhere to sit. No one's giving up that seat for anyone. So I was clinging on for dear life. And I just got home and I couldn't concentrate on anything, but I couldn't sleep. And it was just this horrible feeling of restlessness and pain and not knowing what to do. And I was like, this isn't right. I'd had issues with fatigue and a little bit of pain before and chalked up to stress. And I was like, you know what, this really isn't stress. So I went to the doctors, and unfortunately, doctors don't always take you seriously when you're in your 20s and struggling with fatigue. They continue to chalk up to stress. And it wasn't until I mentioned that my mum has certain hereditary conditions that they started to pay attention. And so then I went for so many blood tests that I felt like a pincushion, and nothing came back on the blood test. So I went to see a rheumatologist, and that's when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And I'd already got asthma at that point, and having those on top of it was like, oh great, something else. But at the same time, it was answers. So it was kind of a bittersweet moment that a lot of us had seen coming, and a lot of doctors had even predicted over like however long it had taken for me to get diagnosed. So obviously during that time, it's meant I've had to find ways to balance my time more so that I can continue to write and publish, but at the same time, I still have energy for my day job. I still have energy for my friends, and obviously I still have energy to write and publish because that's what I love to do more than anything else.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. So you found time, you found a way to restore your health, to balance your energy. Could you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Yeah, I wouldn't fully say I've restored it. It's kind of, it is a roller coaster. There's no other way of describing it. Like at the moment, because I've been going through some personal problems, I really had to rein it back in. And if my body says sleep, I've got to sleep.
Yes.
But I've had to be very mindful of things, and I had to rein stuff in for a while, really slow down on the book stuff and make sure I was eating a little bit better. And I didn't socialize for a while, actually, because I'm a member of the local writing community here.
Great.
And I used to go to quite a bit. And then I pretty much stopped going to stuff because after being at work all day, I just had no energy left for anything else. And that was obviously difficult, but it's about priorities, and socializing is often the first thing to go. But recently I've come to realize that the socializing is as important as work, because it's that support network that lifts you up when you're feeling down. And that FaceTime is so much better than video chat or phone calls or messages of any kind. It makes so much more of a difference to just sit across from someone in a restaurant or a coffee shop or on the sofa watching a film and spend time with them. absorb their energy, for one of a better way of putting it. You know, I remember when I was a teenager, I read in a magazine that to be like at your happiest, you need to socialize for 20 hours a week. And as an introvert, I thought that sounds like loads. And
That's
now
a
I get
long
older,
time.
that's actually not a lot, depending on what you're doing. It's harder when you've got a day job. But if you're like going shopping with friends and then going out for a meal afterwards or going to the cinema, it quickly does add up. But when you do have chronic illnesses, it's a lot harder to get that much time in with friends and sleep and be productive and work and juggle everything, you know?
That's true. Wow. And so how are you doing these days?
It comes and goes, you know. Yesterday I crashed pretty hard. Got home from work, slept pretty hard. I slept for like 3 hours, had some food, and then went back to bed. But it's a case of if it's what my body needs to do, and if it's what my mind needs, I've got to learn to listen to it rather than go, no, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going. Because the harder you push yourself, the harder you're going to crash further down the line, you know?
Yeah. And how have you been doing health-wise in general? Like, have you been able to stabilize? Have you been going through kind of the roller coaster of things? Or?
Yeah, I'm in the midst of a roller coaster because I lost my grandmother a few weeks ago.
Oh,
and I was very, very close to her. So that's obviously affected me because fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome are exacerbated by stress. So, and there's nothing more stressful than the loss of a loved one. And I actually managed to publish a book since she's passed away, but that was because it was so close to finishing. And I knew it's what she would want me to do. She'd be like, oh, I'm not worth the first, carry on, you know. And I carried her on, and having something productive to do actually did make me feel better mentally. So I was kind of balancing my time between, you know, sleeping, seeing friends a little bit to lift me up and spending time with my partner, and then also keeping an eye on my mum, and then just doing the last bit of proofreading that was needed so that I could put my book out by the end of the last quarter, which is what I planned to do like 6 months ago before everything went crazy. So it's, my health's kind of getting there, but I am still needing probably more sleep than I would usually need. And I'm on slightly stronger pain medication at the moment as well. But I'm willing to do what I need to do to get stuff done and to be at my peak, whatever that may look like.
I love that. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your determination, your faith, and your belief. It's a beautiful moment when, despite all the suffering and the difficulty, you felt this sense of motivation through the pain. There was this feeling of, I need to get this done because this is what my grandmother would have wanted. So you felt the motivation, you felt the drive, you felt guided, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, she very much instilled in me a sense of, if you want something, you've got to work for it. You've got to put this work in. And as a spoiled only child, I did not want to listen to her. I was like, oh, no, so I'm just going to fall out of the sky into my lap kind of thing. And the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, Nan did know everything after all. You know what it's like with grandparents.
Oh, that is sweet.
I'm starting to realize she was very much right, and I do need to listen to what she taught me, because she's very good at giving advice. She's very observant, and certainly when it comes to the writing industry, you do need to work very hard and you do need to persevere, because A, it's fast moving, but B, also it takes a long time to pay off. It's a very long-term investment. I'm sure you feel the same with podcasting, for example. It's not one of those things you're just magically going to get listeners, you know.
Right, it's a journey.
Go out of your way, and you need to be creative, and you need to be ambitious and determined and do what you want and need to do.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes it's, despite the health challenges, but sometimes those health challenges can be a motivator as well.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, even in my case, like when I was diagnosed, I was like, I need to get this done soon because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know what this is.
No, exactly.
Get this done.
Have you heard of Robert Louis Stevenson? I think it was Treasure Island that he wrote. He had chronic illnesses as well.
Oh.
I only found this out recently. He had chronic illnesses that one day kill him, not stuff that, you can manage. But because of that, apparently he was very prolific and very productive, because that essential fact that he knew he would have a very short life motivated him to write.
Wow.
And while I know that fibro and chronic fatigue syndrome aren't going to kill me, it's still a motivator because I know how precious time is. So when I do have time and energy to do something, I don't want to spend it mooching in front of the TV. I want to spend it building my skills so that I can help and inspire as many people as I possibly can.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Love this conversation. Yes, we have to, make use of this time.
We do. We so do.
Serve other people, serve our purpose here on earth. Beautiful. And so what advice would you give to somebody who's going through a similar or, related challenge of the difficulties of maybe fatigue and maybe not feeling like they have the strength to do things, but maybe it's more fear-based. I just don't know, like, maybe thinking through some of like the most challenging times, what would be some advice now looking back that you would give to somebody who is going through perhaps like the new diagnosis or a relapse situation?
I would say your support network is everything.
Yes.
A lot of people don't like asking for help, but if you need it, your support network is called a support network for a reason. They're your friends for a reason. And if they're not there to pick you up when you are down, then they're not real friends and they don't really love you. I am incredibly lucky that I've got a supportive partner, I've got supportive friends, I've got supportive family. And when I'm doing badly, they do drive me around. They do come and visit me and bring cake, and they do send me funny gifts. They do whatever that is in their power to help me and to lift me up mentally and physically. And if I need to rest, they understand. If I cancel last minute, they know it sucks, but again, they understand. And I think people vastly underestimate the importance of that support network. And it's sad because I have known people with various mental and physical illnesses without that support network, with people who are like, it's all in your head, it's not a real thing, and it damages their confidence and they just become complete shells. They're completely unable to do anything because they think they are making it up and that it's not real, but it is at the end of the day,
Right.
You have to accept it yourself first and foremost, and when you accept it and become comfortable with it, so will everyone else around you.
Right. Yeah, definitely. If you're not feeling right within yourself, regardless of whether you can get a diagnosis or not, if you feel like something's off, something is not right. I mean, it's just as simple as.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I first went to the doctors about fatigue in like 2014.
Yeah.
And I got tested. I got one blood test. I said I was fine, and then I was dismissed. And was it like 2 years later, I think? I went back, same deal. And then it was in 2017, I was like, this really isn't right now. I need answers. And what it's like? You start self-diagnosing on Google and all sorts, and your mind just runs rife with all these crazy theories. And like I said, it was only because of my mum's diagnosis, which I should have raised earlier. It never occurred to me that they would take me more seriously with that. But they did take me seriously, and I got a blood test, and I was poked and prodded so many times.
Right.
That
you were like, oh,
finally got those answers. Yeah, exactly. But when they see a young person, they assume that you are healthy, and there is that misconception that youth does mean health. And I would love to be bouncing around the walls like a newborn puppy, but I'm not. I have to accept that this is me. This is a part of who I am, and I can't change that. I've just got to balance it and work with it rather than against it.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And that social support is so important, right? I think of individuals who are depressed, and it's like the natural tendency in some ways to like want to retreat and stay away from people.
It is, yeah.
To think nobody understands me, no one knows what I'm going through. But
exactly,
you just got to be willing to share your experience with people, and
yeah,
and someone's been through it, right?
Yeah, and if you know someone that is going through a hard time, reach out to them. Just say like, hey, do you want to come over for a movie night or something? Just a small gesture to remind them that they're not alone. Because even if they say no, it does remind them that you are there for them if they need you.
Right. And sometimes it's not even just about like providing advice or anything, just to be there to listen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is very
And
helpful.
that's the hardest thing, isn't it? To not give advice and to just sit and listen. I know I'm notorious, or I am notorious. I can't bite my tongue very easily. But it is having someone there who is just willing to listen when you feel like everything around you is just running away from you and you can't keep up, or you just feel tearful and you don't know why. Having someone who just gets it and doesn't feel the need to fill the silence, it can just lift your mood a little bit.
Definitely. All right. Yeah. So the importance of social support, it's so important. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Kristina, please feel free to tell us more about how we could learn more about what you're doing, your writing, your services out there in book writing. How can we get in touch with you?
The best way to find me is on Twitter, and that's at Kristina Author, and that's Kristina with a K. And my writing blog, The Writers Cookbook, is writerscookbook.com. And to find out about my books, you can check out KristinaAdamsAuthor.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us as we close this conversation, this interview?
One piece of advice I would like to share with your listeners before we go.
Yes.
If your doctor thinks you need medication, just accept it. Don't argue with them, because I've known a lot of people who are given antidepressants or pain medication and they don't want to take it. They feel like it's something to be ashamed of. But if it's something that's going to help you live and help you be the best version of yourself, accept it, because you've only got one life and you need to make the most of it. And if your body or mind aren't working together, do what you need to do to make them work together again, so long as it's not illegal. Don't do anything illegal. Just don't be afraid and don't be ashamed to do what helps you.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. I mean, could have saved 20 years or so of depression, panic attacks from happening as a daily issue in my life if I had taken medication for what I needed to do.
Yeah. It can make a massive, massive difference. Like if I wasn't on my pain medication, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you right now, you know? And, I didn't necessarily want to go on any pain medication, but it got to the point where I was crying down the phone to my doctor, give me something, give me anything, I will take it,
Right.
And, I did have to hit rock bottom to acknowledge that I needed it. And I'm now glad I'm on it. But it can sometimes take time to accept that that is what you need, whether temporarily or permanently.
Right.
Because it can be a big adjustment, and frankly it can be expensive as well, so sometimes you feel like, I'd rather spend that money on XYZ. But you've got to do what helps you.
Definitely. So no shame, we've just got to do it.
Precisely.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kristina. I really appreciate our conversation today. I've learned so much, and I look forward to going on your website and learning more about your work and seeing about your books, the books you're writing. It's exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
You too.